Yeah. Hi, Dawood. Thank you for taking out time on my podcast. It's my pleasure to have you, brother.
It's my pleasure to be here with you as well, too, supporting all of our Canadians, looking at new opportunities in different parts of the world outside of the GTA. And do we have some surprises for you?
That's amazing. Dawood, I would appreciate if you can give a little bit introduction about yourself to our audience who don't know you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, can I share something with you?
Yeah, of course.
I think this would probably be really interesting to kind of present it in a visual format that I think people can kind of really begin to appreciate what we are actually trying to do together. So basically, I'm the Florida guy. I've been in the US for the last 22 years, focusing on real estate for a good 17, 18 years of it now. I'm both Canadian and American. And I too, just like you, host a number of podcasts and a radio show. And as a result of helping so many Canadians over the past decade and a half, definitely created a little bit of a speciality when it comes to servicing or helping Canadians buy Florida properties. And, why are they buying? I mean, I don't know what temperature it is over there, but I'm sure it's a pretty cold day right now. And every
Yeah.
Canadian has this in mind. And they always say to themselves that this is going to be the last winter that they're going to experience in Canada. Everybody says that every single time. And sadly, very, very few people do anything about it. And I think what's interesting is, if we could actually show you a way to actually solve the biggest problem that you have, would you actually take advantage of the opportunity? And I think, given the circumstances of what's happened, especially through COVID and, changes in government policy and health regulations and
Right.
interest rate and taxes, there's a slew of opportunities that actually present itself in spite of all the difficulties that we've been experiencing over the last, let's call it almost 5 years now. Right. So why invest in Florida? I mean, I think every Canadian has a dream of buying something in Florida because of the weather, because how close it is, because of all the attractions, because of going to the beach, especially now in the winter time.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, like, why Florida? Why Florida? What made you move to Florida? And I think one of the most interesting things is to be able to kind of like compile this together and be able to share it with the world, I think has been a really great gift for me because it gives me an opportunity to serve my Canadian friends and family members that I've been working with for so long and really kind of allow me to come back home. And better yet, show my home to, new Canadian investors looking to expand their portfolio or looking for a lifestyle asset, which we'll get into afterwards so that you can begin to see what exactly this is all about. So I'll give you an example. So why Florida? It doesn't matter where you are in Florida. We have great sunshine all year round. Clearly a booming tourism industry. We have no state income tax. That's the equivalent of no provincial income tax. We are Canada's number one tourist destination. Unlike many properties in the GTA, you actually can find cash flowing properties depending on how you buy it. We have a growing economy that's slated to reach 5.2 million people in our Central Florida area by 2030. We're at 2.2, if I'm not mistaken, right now. So almost the doubling of the population. So a lot of diverse investment opportunities here as well as long-term and short-term. But the key aspect that I want to focus on is that you can actually purchase affordable properties compared to many other US cities, and more importantly, definitely a lot cheaper than the GTA. Maybe by half the price of what it is, if not a quarter. Right. And the best part about all of this is if we were able to resolve every aspect of this transaction along the way, from property management to securing financing, getting you insurance, furniture packages, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you can literally buy this property from Toronto. Would that solve a big hurdle for considering buying US property? I would think, of course, right? So who's buying in Florida? These are the various countries that are buying, and for many of them, it's because of geographic proximity. In many cases, with a lot of Latin American countries, it's a safe haven to move their money from their country to a safer economy that is stable and is definitely prosperous and growing. Right? Who's buying in Florida? There's a lot of international people that are buying. They're buying for rental, they're buying for vacation, they're buying single family homes, they're buying condos, they're buying townhouses. And there's definitely an influx because in many ways, Florida is the gateway to the Americas. And when you talk about how much are they buying? I mean, $42 billion is a staggering number with an average price point of $475,000. Well, let me ask you this question. What can I buy for $475,000 in the GTA?
Nothing.
Well, there you have it, folks. And then if you begin to understand who's coming, you'll see that Canadians have topped the list for the #1 foreign buyers of Florida properties more than any other country before. So I like to make this joke all the time. You know what the hottest market to buy in Canada is?
Florida.
Bravo! There you go. You're catching on. I like it. So, the top destinations that people are buying in, and if you notice, they have something very common. They're usually south of that one part of north of Canada or the northern part of the US. So if you're on the East Coast, you're coming straight down to Florida. If you're in Calgary, you're probably going to Texas or Arizona because everybody wants to go to California, but it's just super expensive. So, other markets will pop up for investment opportunities like Georgia, like many other places. But if you really look at it from a macro perspective and you start to understand things for what it is, you'll begin to understand that Florida's pretty much carried the total share of foreign buyers purchasing in this market more than any other state in that for that reason. I mean, when you're looking at almost 80 million people coming to visit the US, and more importantly, a big majority of them coming specifically to our market in Orlando, you'll begin to understand why. We have tourism pretty much all year round. I think the slowest times of the year are going to be basically when the kids go back to school in January and August and September, depending on which part of the country or which country you're in, where kids go back and start their school then. You see, if you look at when the market crashed in 2008, and the average Canadian was purchasing a property between, let's call it, $100,000 to $250,000. And most of the time it was cash. As time went on, many banks such as TD, RBC, just to name a few, started to open up in the US, and people started to get financing to the point in time where their desired property would actually increase in value based on what they could get financed for. So instead of going for a condo, now they're in a potential to be able to buy a 5 to 10 bedroom vacation home, for example. And why would you need a 5 to 10 bedroom house? Because it's not a home you're living in. It's a property you'll be able to rent, and we'll be able to get into that as well too. Same thing here too. You find that Canada has been leading the pack in the top 3 countries of investors over the last almost 20 years. And when you look at the destination of international buyers, they're definitely selecting Florida first, right? A lot of the properties that were purchased also cash, believe it or not. And the reason why a lot of the Canadians are buying here in particular is, depending on the time of the year, you can actually be in a situation where you can take advantage of climate and lifestyle, your obvious geo proximity to Toronto, for example. Florida is easier to get to on a plane through the airport than it is to drive on the 401 to get to Windsor sometimes, right? There's a lot of great investment opportunities, and depends on the time of the year as well too. Depends on what the exchange rate is doing. If the Canadian dollar is strong, you can definitely buy buy more here in Florida. But at the same time, if the Canadian dollar weakens, when it comes time to sell it, you have an additional opportunity to make money, not only on your cash flow, not only on your appreciation, but also through exchange rates. So this is why investing in these kind of assets are almost like investing on steroids, because you have other factors that you can take advantage of that you wouldn't be able to typically take advantage of being a local in that market. The same goes for myself purchasing locally in our market, not taking advantage of an exchange rate. If you look at the intended use for a lot of these properties here in Florida, the good majority of the people are looking for a vacation property or a second home. So when you start to factor in all of these things, you begin to understand, okay, what are the types of homes am I looking at, and how much am I looking to spend? You see, all of the the investors that are looking to invest have different opinions about different markets. Some will tell you Orlando's better, some would want to move to Miami, some would want to go to Naples, and some want to be able to experience a certain type of lifestyle. And based on that, I think the determining factor for what you are looking for in an investor, you will find in that respective city, right? Um, do you have any questions thus far? I feel like I've kind of taken over your podcast here.
No, no, that's fine. The one questions that most of the Canadians ask is about the financing. How does that work? And is it easy to get financing for US properties or it is tough? How does that go?
That's an excellent question, by the way. So I think I'm going to jump in by saying, why work with us in particular? I think, you know what I mean? Well, first things first, we help buyers find the best Florida home, whether you're Canadian or whether you're from a different part of the world or the country, we're
Right.
here to help, right? And how do we do that? You asked a great question about financing. All you have to do is connect with you, and then through you, just we'll all connect together. And what we do is we start off by learning a little bit more and having a discovery call to kind of figure out what the individual's real estate action plan is. Once we're able to do that, what we can do then is obviously hook them up with someone for financing, get them pre-qualified, let them understand how much house that they want. We'll be able to help them out with property management, insurance, design packages, taxes, all of the concerns that people have. We want to introduce them to the professionals, the specialists in those areas, so they can address their individual problems. Because realistically speaking, what happens is this. If you have an interest to invest in Florida, the first step you need to do is connect with someone who's in the market, who's a professional who would be able to guide you. Once you're able to do that, oftentimes many Canadians ask about how to take ownership in a property, how to purchase it, and what kind of tax exposure are they exposed to.
Right.
Another concern is financing. So if we can address your financing issue, and we know we can secure financing for you, we can address your tax issues, then really what's left? Finding the property that you like, getting it managed by an outside party, and then making sure that you have the right insurance, furniture packages, whatever you need so that you can be successful with your investment. And by doing that, really what we're doing is we're streamlining the process to make it easy, comprehensible for the person who's looking at this. We want to try and offer a turnkey, headache-free opportunity that helps Canadians protect themselves against any potential mishaps so that their whole process is streamlined, managed well, and adds value to your investment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And what type of the down payment they should expect for these properties? Like
So a
percentage?
down payment for these types of properties, depending on where it is, most of the lenders are looking for approximately a 25% down payment. Depending on your credit, depending on where you're from, I've seen it as little as 20%. I've seen it as high as 30 or 35%. But I think it's safe to say 25% across the board is pretty much a reasonable way to go about doing this, right?
Oh,
And then the nice thing about financing in Florida, I can share this as well too, is in many cases, a lot of the loans have no prepayment penalties, unlike in Canada. Also, you can lock in a loan for 15 years, 30 years at a
yeah.
specific fixed rate. And all of these factors are going to vary based on the what's happening with the economy and the time of year that you are applying for the loan so that your lender can match you up with the right program, with the right interest rates, and make sure that you become even more successful in your endeavor.
And as a Canadians, when people buy, what type of rate of interest do they get? Do they get like normal US citizens rate of interest or they have to pay slightly higher than?
For all investment properties, they're going to be slightly higher than a second home.
Okay.
Um, and currently, of course, the rate varies all the time. We've seen the rate as low as 3-4% here, all the way up to like sevens, eights, nines as well too. So I think just with this new election and with the way things are moving, there's talk of rates being reduced.
Right.
In depending on your credit, we've seen the rates in the high sixes, low sevens. But then at the same time, if the rate goes down, you should be able to refinance with
Yeah.
no prepayment penalty and take advantage of greater cash flow. I think the advantage in this market right now, just like in the Canadian market, while people are waiting for interest rates to be at
Okay.
the most favorable rate, my suggestion has always been, guys, take advantage of jumping in the market right now. You can buy a property better than you would when the market is more favorable from an interest rate perspective because there's far more buyers coming into the market looking at these types of properties.
Right. Yeah.
So let me focus a little bit on Orlando and kind of highlight probably, in my opinion, one of the best markets to jump in on, just so that your clients can get a better idea in a very case-specific example of a specific market and looking at a specific type of a product, for example, so that you can have a better idea of what to expect, right? So
Right.
why Orlando? I mean, you know what? Even year over year, we've seen an appreciation go up between 3 and 6%, depending on the average or the median year, October to October. So what does that say about our economy? Obviously, we have a very, very, very strong economy in our city. While many of the properties in many different parts of the country went in the opposite direction and noticed a depreciation, cities like Miami, Orlando actually noticed an appreciation in spite of the difficulties, in spite of the high interest rates, in spite of more properties sitting on the market, just like we have experienced all throughout North America. But why
Right.
Orlando in particular, right? We have a strong real estate demand. More than 65% of the population actually rents. They don't buy because it's a very transient town. There's a lot of people coming in for many different reasons, jobs, the amusement parks. They come here, they enjoy it, they stay. There's a lot of tax benefits, a thriving tourism industry. We have a growing population, many different sectors outside of hospitality, including technology, including aerospace, just to name a few. Gaming as well is big in this market here. If you look at 2023, we had 74 million people come to visit. That's literally double the population of all of Canada coming to one city. This is why we're the number one tourist destination in the US. We're the fourth largest city in Florida, and we get a ton of people coming. And the best part about it is this is our median home price. So if you're looking for something under 500,000, you can easily get something under 500,000 here, which is unheard of in Canada. So what makes Orlando the number one tourist destination? I'm sure many of you have come to Orlando to visit Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, just to name a few. But people are coming for various reasons. Some people want to retire here. Some people want to buy a place for their kids' college and university so they can have a better education in the US. Some people are looking for short-term rentals, something they can use with their family in these cold winter months when you have a downtime, when your home is not occupied. And others are using it because it's a very nifty business model where you can take advantage of the rentals while using it yourself, having the property cash flowing, and more importantly, managed by somebody else. So that's essentially what a lifestyle asset is. It's really important that when you're thinking about a lifestyle asset, such as a short-term rental, that you end up focusing on cash flow, making sure that the property is managed, and then you can be able to use it whenever you want, which is what a lot of Canadian people want. You
Right.
see, in the past, when they were buying long-term rentals, whenever the tenant moved out, and if they wanted to use it, they would have to go out and buy a lot of furniture. In these cases, if the home is vacant, all you got to do is make a call, come in, show up, enjoy your property, close the door behind you, and somebody will manage it, take care of it, make sure that you're getting paid, and so on and so forth.
Right.
I can keep going, or obviously you're going to edit this part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, I'm saying I can keep going, or if you want to ask me another question.
Yeah. Do you have any pro forma or do you have any exact property for that is like you can showcase for an investment, a typical property with some numbers to give an idea?
So, so yes and no. Every property is going to be drastically different. But what I can share with you is the following. Hang on a second. what I can
Like
share
whatever
with you.
projects we're working on currently, like any
Yeah, no,
pre-construction.
no problem. Here, let me just do this real quick. So do me a favor, just ask me that question again, and then let me why don't you edit from okay, so just edit from here. Um okay, so can you give us an example? So just ask that question again, and then I'll
Yeah.
jump into it.
Okay, Daud, so as you mentioned, like why we should invest in Florida, why we should consider Orlando. Do you have any particular example of a property that my investor clients look at to buy right now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's several of them. I can give you a really good case example that
Right.
we have worked on over the last, let's call it 3, 4 years. Over 60% of this project in particular was sold
Mhm.
to Canadians. And there's definitely a lot of Canadians on site enjoying and living there as well too. There's a ton of people that have showed up this week because of the Christmas holidays and everybody's gearing up for this holiday season and want to take advantage of the nice weather. So this is a community that is completed now, just
Okay.
waiting to wrap up the clubhouse. So we actually have units that are available and delivered that we can share with you guys. It's a short-term vacation rental community. Excuse me. Consisting of 126 townhomes in all 4 unit types. And I think what's interesting is its location, the fact that you're able to
Nice.
legally rent it out on a short-term basis. You're minutes away from a lot of the attractions that we have to offer. And this is a very good example of what this project actually looks like.
Do they have a pool as well? It's the two-story or three-story townhouse?
Uh, Um,
It's two-story.
so to answer your question, we do have both 2-story and 3 stories. So we start off with the Amber model, which is the 3-bedroom townhouse. It comes with jacuzzis. Every single one comes with a private jacuzzi. There's the Jade model, which is the 4-bedroom model. This unit comes with a private pool. This is also 2 stories. And if you see the sizes of the units, they're actually quite large.
Right. Yeah.
A 5-bedroom even townhouse is available. And we're talking about a 5-bedroom under 500,000. So $490,000 for a 5-bedroom townhouse with a private swimming pool in the back. And then you have the 6-bedroom model, which sits on 3 floors. And this is available as well too. The advantage of this model is that it overlooks a body of water behind the community, which is nice. I think water is always so calming and so relaxing when you're looking at options for views. When it comes to amenities, you'll also get a sleek community pool, health center, sometimes a kids play area. This is what the project looks like currently completed.
Right.
And here's the closeout inventory that we have available as well too for people that are looking at or considering this type of an investment so that you can get an idea. Now, we don't really get into numbers here because of one reason. Your property management company is the company that's going to be determining what the projections are for how well your property is going to be doing, depending on the statistics, the numbers that they have from previous owners, and depending on the time of the year, depending on how you furnished your unit, depending on how you've upgraded your unit, every home is going to perform individually. So in order to really answer this question for you, I think part of the discovery is understanding what it is that people are looking for. Once we're able to identify a project, then the next easiest step is going to be to connect them with the right person at several property management companies so that they can interview and get a better assessment for what to expect in terms of the rentals that are available for them to consider.
Right. So for an example, like the short-term rental is a separate thing, but for example, like if you buy out, somebody buys the starting model at 399, 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath with jacuzzi, right? This townhouse, and they do a long-term rental, then how much rent they should expect?
So, once again, rentals are also going to vary depending on the location and so on and so forth. I can tell you that, between a 4 and 5 bedroom, you could probably look at anywhere between 2,600 to $3,000 depending on what it is. Remember, the homeowners association fees are also under 300,000, so it's not expensive. It's not going to eat up into your condo fees or your homeowners association fees.
Right.
The taxes are relatively lower as well too compared to many other cities. So once you start factoring in all of those things, you'll be able to figure it out, right? And then as we continue and proceed here, I want to give you an idea of another community, right? So this is also in the general Disney area. It's in a community where, you know, you have an incredible uh, clubhouse that has all kinds of amenities available for families to take advantage of. A lazy river, kids pool area, a large pool area for the guests to enjoy, a restaurant, a gym facility, a game room, just to name a few. So these are all of some of the things that people are looking for once you start to get into other communities that offer more amenities. They're going to definitely be a lot more expensive in price, but it depends on the kind of lifestyle you're after. You can definitely be in a resort type of setting, as I'm about to show you right now, so that you can get an idea of exactly what a lifestyle property for a short-term vacation rental would look like in the Orlando area. So this is the sister property, which is Windsor Island, sorry, which is located just down the street on the same street of this project.
Nice. So all these are like vacation home communities.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what it is. And the best part about it is it's actually zoned for short-term rental, so you will have no issues to rent it out.
And when you say it's zoned for short-term rental, like are there any restrictions for short-term rentals in the city?
Not at all. And this area specifically, you can rent for short-term or long-term because there's a great demand for short-term rentals so close to Disney. People
Okay.
don't want to stay in hotels. People want to rent a house like this. The average person coming to Orlando is probably going to be between 4 and 5 people
Right.
on an average family size. And then many people travel with their best friends, their parents, their
Yeah.
brother, mother, sister. So all of a sudden, you're at 15, 16, 20 people to come to a trip to Orlando. So why not rent a bigger house like this for, 400, 500, 300, $1,000, depending on what size house you're trying to get, and just split the cost with everybody. You can make food at home. It's definitely a cost saving opportunity when you're coming on this vacation, and you can offset going to the park and spending thousands and thousands of dollars a day on admission fees and food by just simply staying at home and using the amenities within the community here. This
Right.
community not only has single family homes, but they also have townhomes as well too. And these are 5 bedroom townhouses, 4.5 baths, and also come with a pool at the end of the sorry, in behind the
The backyard.
right. So just kind of like tie this all up for someone who's really considering Florida, which I really think you should, because I think it's a great way to diversify your properties and portfolio and have a better offering for you and your family so that you can come and enjoy it. So how have investors succeeded with us? Basically, what we've done is we've created a process to help you prepare to shop. Get, like we said, we'll get you the financing, connect you with the right people to find the property, make the offer, negotiate it for you, and then more importantly, get your insurance, get your property management going, get all of the things that you need so that you can ensure your success. When it comes to property management companies, we're going to introduce you to a number of them so that you can feel comfortable with who you want to work with and then understand how they're going to market your property for you and how they're going to ensure your success. It's very important to have these kind of conversations because these conversations are game changers in terms of once I buy this property and I put it in the hands of someone who's going to take care of it for me, what are they going to be doing for us? And I prep a lot of our clients as well by kind of reminding them or asking them what the right questions are to ask. So when it comes to property management company, you're avoiding a lot of the pitfalls any Canadian would have or any foreign national would have when they're coming to buy here. And you will often find that by not teaming up with the right company, um, not getting the right financing that you need, getting a better quote on your insurance, getting better options in terms of furniture packages, and really understanding what people want and how it's going to determine more of these types of rentals if you're looking for a short-term rental. When it comes to taxes, same thing. A lot of Canadians are asking us, should I buy it in an LLC? Should I buy it in my own personal name? Should I buy it in a trust? And we have an expert who's been working with my clients for about 17 years and assisting them with their taxes and more importantly, how to take ownership here. So these are all the major concerns that people are asking about when they keep asking us these frequently asked questions right after these seminars all the time. And then once you're able to understand that we have all of these things covered for you, the process becomes really simple. All you have to do is decide. Decide to want to invest in Florida, decide to want to work with us, and more importantly, we'll be able to hold your hand and walk you through the whole process from start to finish so that you get the comfort that you want, you get the knowledge that you need, and more importantly, you're in trusted hands with people who understand both your needs as a Canadian as well as the needs of purchasing a property in Florida.
Right. That makes sense. Another thing I would want to know that how does the pre-construction world works there? Is it similar like Canada where we make like small deposit 5%, 30 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then we get the possession?
Yeah, so it's slightly different because the first and foremost thing is we have great weather all year round. So construction is pretty much happening all year round. I think
Right.
the only time construction stops is if you end up having some heavy rainfall, which is usually in the summer months. Um, Many developers are kind of changing their deposit structures, but for the most part, it's usually a set amount. Like for example, at one of the the national home builder communities, if you're buying a townhouse, it's a $70,000 down payment, or 120 or $110,000 for a single family house. In other cases, it's 20%. It just depends on what the contract says and go from there. Our time period from when you sign a contract and you're buying a brand new home that has not even been built can be anywhere from like a few months if it's midway through the process to
Right.
approximately 8 months to a year to finish the development of your home, your property. So the time periods are smaller. Now, we have been able to negotiate breaking up the deposits for certain communities. So it's just a matter of finding the right one, understanding what their needs are, and then kind of going from there. Usually, developer contracts are pretty firm in terms of how their structure is. So we'll
Right.
just need to revisit this specifically once we know exactly what we're looking at.
And that, what are the rough estimates for the closing cost for these
So I
homes?
think closing costs, there's some rules of thumb that we kind of work by. I think if you're buying cash, I would expect anywhere between 2 to 2.5% and of the purchase price. And I
Right.
think if you're looking at financing, just depends on lender fees and you know what other uh, charges that are being charged to the client. I think a 3.5 to 4% is a very safe and conservative
Limited.
approach in terms of justifying what the closing costs are going to be. And then, of course, I think once we're in a property and we get a little bit closer to the time, I'll definitely be able to request and ask for a net sheet so that you'll be able to kind of figure out exactly what the expectation is, how much you're bringing to the table, what needs to
Right.
be done, and kind of go from there.
Okay, that sounds good. That was like a lot of information for our investors to dive into the Orlando market. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate your time, man.
No, my pleasure. I hope we've definitely added some value and
100%.
definitely added, you know, a greater option for a lot of people that, you know, might be looking at investing in this market and are going from there. And, you know, I like to tell a lot of my Canadian realtors that I like to work with is, you know, that a lot of your clients are buying these properties without you. And the
Right.
reason why they're doing that is because they don't even know that you're even able to share such an opportunity. So
That's right.
by, you know, diversifying your offerings and really beginning to understand what a lot of people want, I think you might come and find it surprising that in many cases, your next investment opportunity might very well be right here in Florida. It's affordable. It's cheaper than a lot of other properties that you can get. In many
Right.
cases, it cash flows. There's so many advantages that you can take advantage of from in terms of taxes and so on and so forth. And more importantly, as a Canadian, Canadians are amongst the most favored foreign nationals to be able to get financing for Florida properties than
Right.
any other country in the world.
And that's the best part.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, I really appreciate your time, Dawood. Thank you for doing this. We'll be in touch.
For sure. Thank you for having me on your podcast as well, too.
Thank you.
My pleasure.